I'm suspending the campaign. But suspending the campaign does not mean suspending citizenship. Callista and I are committed to be active citizens. We're now going to put down the role of candidate and candidate spouse and take back up the roles of active citizens.
Good night, until we meet again.
So long.
Adios.
Well, that's a lot of debt. $4 million? My goodness, that's a big debt. I guess Romney going to help him retire that debt? He's going to have a role at the convention. It's not clear what role at the convention. He wants a front and center speaking role. Big night for Newt's speech. He commented on everything yesterday, including the space program or his space interests. Will he be going with Ashton Kutcher on one of those space missions? We're not clear, but it was his goodbye, and he said everyone needs to get behind Mitt Romney at this point. There is one man standing, just one, and I'm delighted he's with us. Ron Paul, of course, congressman from Texas, GOP candidate for the presidency, and he joins us now. Congressman Paul, how does it feel to be the last man standing, other than the Romney campaign?
Well, it's not all that relevant because it's the delegates that count, so we're still working on that. But I guess that's something somebody wouldn't have predicted, a year ago, that there'd be just two of us going down to the wire. So we're going to keep plugging along, with all the state conventions going on and keep accumulating delegates the best we can.
Yeah, tell us about your strategy moving forward. I was reading the Washington Post today, and the title of this piece is "Paul's Backers Reap Delegates," and people say, well, they think Ron Paul's, he's not winning lots of states. However, at state conventions around the country, you're increasing your support among people in attendance, specifically the delegate count. For people who don't understand this, tell us how it's going on.
Well, most of the votes that got all the attention were, just straw votes. You take the vote in Iowa. The big thing in Iowa was the PR benefits. Of course, we didn't get any, even though any benefit from that, because we didn't come in first or second. But the process meant that if you have energized supporters and they go and become delegates and work their way through the county system and then the state system, then you get the delegates. And that's where the supporters have done so well. They persevere, and they have read the book, and some Republicans get annoyed with them because they actually know the rules and they can't get pushed around like they did 4 years ago. So this is where it's paying off, in the various states, and I think in the next month or so is when the final count will come in.
It says in the piece that your supporters are following and acting upon these, quote, arcane rules. Well, I say they are rules. I mean, arcane rules, they're rules. And I think Republicans should generally play by the rules. So while at many conventions, Romney's backers are split between numerous would-be candidates, Paul's supporters are showing up in droves and voting with discipline for a delegate slate. Well, I don't understand why that's arcane.
Then they get criticized for it. I thought the Republicans were law and order people. We're supposed to, follow the rules. Sometimes, many times, they would just either bend the rules, avoid the rules, or just close the convention down. But they've been able to undo that. But not only is the delegate count important, because we obviously are interested in the issues as well as, the electoral process, and we're winning statewide races for chairman of the party and the various county chairmanship, and there are literally hundreds of people we don't even know about. I meet on the campaign trail that have run for office, local office, city offices, county and state rep office, state senators. So there's a lot of activity going on that is not measured, and if it is, the general media either don't want to or think it's uninteresting. But if you want to change something, I think that's exactly what happens. This is not about me as much as it is about trying to bring sense to our policies. I mean, we get so discouraged in our group because nobody else wants to talk about spending anything. That doesn't matter. So we don't have to have real cuts, and they don't. We win some of the debate, at least we get the attention. I think the monetary issue, we picked up a lot of steam, and now on the foreign policy, 75% of the American people now are saying, what are we doing in Afghanistan? So we've more or less have won that argument. Washington hasn't responded yet, but I think they will.
There's a piece out today that I've actually posted on my website, Congressman Paul, about the youth vote in the United States, how young voters are registering as increasingly libertarian. I'm more of a kind of Reagan social conservative. I mean, I'm a social conservative on a lot of issues. But look, considering the young voters last time turned out for Obama in droves, I think it's fascinating that the new estimation of youth enthusiasm for him is way down, and more young people are more skeptical about big government than they have been in decades.
Well, if our rallies are any reflection of that, we should be very encouraged because, I'm in California now, and last night we had 4,000 out, and that was considered moderate because we can get up to 8,000 out. So the campuses are really alive and well on thinking about these things. So I think most, at least the young people that we meet, are very, very concerned about the future. They have a lot of debt. The government has debt. The war continues on. They understand a little bit about monetary policy and the bailouts. So they're responding, and they love the message of individual liberty, and I'm willing to defend that. And as long as they assume responsibility for all their actions and not expect people to bail them out, and that if you have personal liberty, you ought to have economic liberty as well.
Congressman Paul, the administration has pledged, the president specifically has pledged, 110,000 summer jobs for young people. Remember a couple summers ago it was recovery summer, but now this is really recovery summer for the kids in order to apparently buy their vote or say, I'm going to create jobs for you. I don't know how he expects to do this except maybe to get people to organize for him. I guess that's a job, to work for the Obama campaign. But I find these kind of cheap tactics, these little razzle-dazzle moves to be just so transparent. I just don't feel like they're working.
Yeah, well, they don't work. I mean, it's more malinvestment, redirecting investment. What they need to do is change the tax code and the regulatory code, get rid of any control on labor, whether it's power of unions or minimum wage laws, and get out of the way. Obama can't create 110 worthwhile jobs. All he can do is take money from worthwhile jobs and redirect it and try to get political gain. But I hope that the people wake up and see through this the way you indicate.
Rudy Giuliani was on my show earlier this week, and look, he had been very critical of Romney in the past, a few months back, saying he's a man with no core. Very, very critical, as has a lot of Republicans, and he was clear in saying that it's time to unify behind the man who's most surely going to be the nominee, and to think of another 4 years under Obama is just a devastating consequence for the United States. We can't sit back and allow that to happen. Mitch McConnell has said similar things. Others who are very critical of Romney. What's your reaction to that? That the biggest threat to America now is another 4 years of Obama, and can't we all just get along and get together and get behind him?
Well, I have my criticism of Obama, and the policies are lousy, especially on the medical care. But when you think about, last 50 years, you can't pin it down either on one party or one individual. We certainly had our chance. Republicans had our chance, when we had the presidency in the Senate and the House. But, the government didn't shrink. Government expanded. Department of Education expanded. Government medical care expanded. The deficit exploded. So to say that all this bears down on Obama and ignore overall foreign policy, which is endorsed by both parties, and the monetary policy and the Federal Reserve endorsed by both parties, and neither party seem to really care about the deficit, I think it's presumptuous to say, well, the whole thing, the world is coming to an end because of Obama. Obviously, I don't want Obama to be our president, but to say that he is the cause of it all, and all we have to have is a Republican that doesn't have precise differences with him on so many issues, I don't think that's a panacea.
Well, right. I don't think a panacea, but would you disagree then with with Giuliani and others when they say that there's no doubt that Mitt Romney would be a better president than Barack Obama?
Yeah, I think marginally so. It isn't so much that he wouldn't have better ideas and want to do it, but it's that it never seems to change anything. I think the area where I could concede some, I think Romney would probably be better on the tax issue. But was George Bush Sr. better on the tax issue? Here we said, read my lips. And this is why the young people are so disenchanted. They've heard that for so long, and they know the history. They don't trust the politicians. They don't believe what they're being told. And this is why a whole generation is skeptical of both Republicans and the Democrats, and they don't buy into this that it's all Obama's fault, even though they're not cheering Obama on because they don't like his attack on civil liberties and they don't like the wars that he has pursued. But I think they see through it that we can't, boil it down to saying, well, it's Obama's fault and Romney will be 100% different and everything is going to be much better.
No, I didn't say 100% different, Doctor. I said better.
Well, I'm not challenging you as much as how I'm thinking, how young people are thinking about it. They don't expect a whole lot of change.
Well, the Supreme Court picks. I mean, your Supreme Court picks, Romney's Supreme Court picks. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind that your picks would be far and away superior to anything Obama would consider to put on the court. And especially if, heaven forbid, something happened with one of the more conservative justices on the court, Romney gets to tip the balance of the court. Obama gets to tip the balance of the court. That would be devastating across the board on a number of areas.
Yeah, and yet we're supposed to have a pretty conservative court right now, and they rule that you can have strip searches without due process, without reasonable cause. So, yeah, I think so. I would concede that hopefully that would happen. It's just that so many people have been burned for so long, even on court appointments, Republican appointees. We could go back and analyze it, but I can find a few there that you and I would agree didn't turn out quite so well.
Well, that's for sure. Congressman Paul, before we let you go, on the issue of the blind Chinese dissident who was now released from U.S. custody and care and essentially turned over to the Chinese government. His wife apparently was held tied to a chair for several hours. He was on the phone with an AP reporter about 10 hours ago crying that he's been abandoned. How do you rate the administration's handling of his fate?
Well, that certainly is a mixed bag, and I don't know if I have any easy answers since I don't know all those details. But I do know that we cannot rectify. We cannot assume that we have the authority to rectify all the infractions of civil liberties in China when we have so many here. When we have a president that can assassinate American citizens and has, we have the military that can arrest American citizens, put them in prison without due process. I would say we have a mess here. Our responsibility as representatives here, Congress and the executive branch and the courts, would be to guarantee civil liberties here and hopefully influence others. But for us to assume that we know exactly what to do, I tremendous sympathy for anybody who wants to escape, and if they get into our embassy, that to me is like escaping to our country, and sending somebody back like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it seems we can do better here at home, undoubtedly, but we also could, as a country, think that when we have someone in our care and then turn him back over to the Chinese communists for a good life.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for a good life. Congressman Paul, great to talk to you. We're following the delegate count carefully.
Okay.
Fascinating stuff. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. The story about Obama's girlfriends gets more and more interesting by the day. Whose girlfriend story is more interesting, Obama's or Clinton's? You be the judge. Coming up.
The Laura Ingraham Show.